Just at that time of year, right? Finally made it to the last week of the season. Just couldn't be more excited to have a divisional opponent to, put all our cards out there and put it all on the line and get to where we want to go. It's just, you get to this point of the season, you go back to last year, and there's a lot of what ifs. What if we did this? What if we put ourselves in position? Even this year, you learn from your mistakes as you go, and you continue to grow throughout the season. But we are here, and we have a great opportunity in front of us of a familiar opponent, and could not be more excited to go at it with these guys. They've done nothing but respond the right way when their back's against the wall, and that's what we are right here. Well, last week of the season, chance to go to the dance, and we're focused on the Bucs right now and taking our best step forward.
All right, we'll kick things off with David Newton.
Hey, Brad, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Almost. What's the best example you can give me of where you've seen Bryce remain calm in maybe a very stressful, hectic situation?
Yeah, he's had a number of, late wins for us, down the stretch of fourth quarter drives. He's spreading the field out, letting them see things, acknowledging pressure looks, right? And using his cadence, I think, is another thing, pre-snap. He's done a great job of this year of adding that really to his tool belt, really taking a huge step and trying to undress defensive pressures. They just finished a third down pressure meeting in there with Joe Gilbert. He does a great job of giving him all the pre-snap looks. And Bryce, in conversation with Andy and Will Harriger and Mike Bercovici and Mike White and myself, there's such good conversations there where he owns the pre-snap. And that does a lot for him in those crucial moments when pressure looks are coming. You go back to the Tampa game last 2 weeks ago, right? And some of the biggest plays we made were on crucial downs, pressure looks, got to get the protection right, then get your route concepts right, and then execute. He's as calm as it gets when that time comes. And then the beauty of it too is he's calm under pressure, but when you got to start the second play, he's fast to do that as well, and he made some big plays for us with his legs all season long. So it's kind of coupled with, all right, when am I standing in here, getting the protection right and getting the routes right so I can rip the ball down the field, but also, when is it time to escape the pocket and extend the play?
And you mentioned the pre-snap and the cadence. That was something that was like a strength of his coming out of college. Why does it seem like it's taken a little while to maybe kick in the NFL?
I think that's a learning curve for a lot of quarterbacks, just going from the college systems to the pro systems. And then I can't speak to anything before when we got here, but anytime you're putting in a new system, new verbiage, there's a whole learning curve of how you communicate things. There's also, how much do we want to give the offense in year one? And as the offense grows from year one to year two, things that we can add to his tool belt. You're really trying to get everything off the ground, in those initial stages and make sure that everybody's, marching in the right direction together. And then as you grow, you get to continue to add things to it. And Bryce is, he's taken all those things in and continue to grow with this offense and really push the guys forward of, hey, we need to all buy into all this pre-snap stuff that we're trying to do to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to take advantage of matchups.
Is there really one good example of that where you saw it just pop?
Really, all off season it sounds funny, but his hard count, the amount of free plays we got in the off season, just doing a great job of really owning that hard count. And then you have linemen cycling in and out, receivers cycling in and out. They start to really tune into cadence when you got a good hard count. Sometimes the receivers want to get jumpy at the line of scrimmage, and you take all that stuff in the offseason and you live with some of those false starts against our defense. So, once you get to the season and it's live bullets, you get those guys to jump. You get a couple free plays during the season this year, but also just getting them to undress pressures and coverage looks.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Alex Zitlow.
Good morning, Brad.
Morning, Alex.
I also wanted to ask about Bryce. As you're designing game plans for him week in and week out, what have you learned about what he likes, and are there still things that you guys are learning about each other? Is there anything that has surprised you about him? when you're putting together a game plan week to week?
I don't know that it's surprising. Like the first again, and go back to the first year, and you're trying to put in an offense for the full group, and then you're seeing what he reads comfortably. You're seeing what he grows into, and then you're just trying to highlight those things. But then it's the complement of, okay, how much do we want to do condensed split under center? How much do we want to do, opening it up and giving him vision, in empty sets or with, motions with spread out formations. Really, I think the coolest part has been he's not pigeonholed into one or the other. He gives us the opportunity to do a little bit of both, and that puts stress on the defense. I think we're up there as far as the amount of empty formations we use, but then it's also well documented that our run game involves a lot of cut split under center, pre-snap motion, as well as just getting downhill and running gap schemes. So I take a lot of pride in the way our coaches have presented it to the players, but then also how Bryce has grown and shown us that he can do both. And the play pass game, the keeper game from those cut splits, under center looks has been huge for us. You go back to the Rams game, and one of our longest rushes was really off of a keeper where, you get full sell on the front side of a 13 personnel run. They're all overflowing it, and Bryce is, out the back door, for a gain of 20 or so. That is a huge piece of our offense and allows us to feature Chuba and Rico and the O-line in the best way. But then you spread it out too. Last week we had a fourth down and we said, hey, let's spread this thing out and give him space to see it. And he ends up scrambling because he's got space and he's got lanes to travel, and protection, might break down, or if he just might see a lane and he needs to take it. So it's been a cool complement of growth for him to show us that he can do both the spread out stuff and, the true, more traditional under center stuff.
That's great. Did you know that he was such an effective runner when you first got here?
We knew he was an athlete. You watch him manipulate the pocket, the quickness, and I think he challenges himself to keep his eyes down the field, just like you would hope really any quarterback would, for as long as he can. I think of the Mitch keeper. He caught a keeper on the sideline against 2 weeks ago, or same type of deal, full flow action, and Bryce is extending the play all the way to the sideline. And then, boom, last second, he hits Mitch on the sideline for about a gain of 10, on the left side, the opponent's side, going, away from our tunnel. And that's just a cool example of, like, he can run. You go to the Rams game, and he runs that one that I was just talking about. And then he can also extend with his eyes downfield, and give guys a chance to get open for scramble drills. And that's the other piece, man. With our offense, like, the broken plays, you can call them broken plays, or the second plays that our guys are now, tuned into, some of those young wideouts and tight ends and running backs. They want to stay alive for him because they know his eyes are downfield. So they know he can run, but also they can get a free catch versus a broken coverage, if they just stay alive for him as he's keeping his eyes downfield.
Awesome.
Cass?
Hey, Brad. I actually also wanted to ask about Bryce running. It seems like that's become a more and more part of this offense in recent weeks. Was that something that came about because he was doing it in practice? He was doing it in games? That was something you and Dave asked him to do more? Like, was it organic, or how did it come about?
Anytime you're running the ball well, I think the defense starts to shrink. We actually emphasized it the last couple weeks of, we want to widen the field. We want to make sure that they have to defend the whole width of the grass. And it was against Tampa. We had a little fly sweep look down in the red zone, gun run, where they start crashing the C gap because they know our tight ends do a great job of sift blocking and cutoff blocks on some of our tight zone schemes. Well, they started crashing it pretty good, so we arc the tight end. Bryce pulls it and gets out on the edge for a gain about 8 down in the red zone, which is a huge gain anytime you're down there in the red area. So for us, that's another element of us widening the field, making sure that those guys can't start to collapse the box on us on our run, on our rundowns. You couple that with giving sweeps to Jimmy and throwing bubbles out there. He threw a T-Mac a smoke last time we played. All that stuff helps expand that defense and make sure that they got to play laterally as well, so they can't just fit their gaps. And Bryce has been a huge element of that. He pulled one against New Orleans. He pulled one against Tampa as far as a gun run's concerned. And then everybody knows we have the gun actions to go with it, which has been huge for him. So, yeah, I don't think it's something that he's just shown as of late. But for us, it's definitely been an offensive emphasis of we're trying to make sure that guys can't just load the box, and we want to make them defend the full field.
Thank
We
you.
have time.
Yep.
We have time for a couple more. We'll go with Joe Person.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, Joe.
Mitch Evans in the tush push. Can you kind of describe the genesis of that, and also do you practice that live at this time of the year? I mean, can you, or are you just how's that look?
As live as you can. This time of the year, live looks a little different than it does, back in July when guys are, scrapping to make the team and they're in preseason mode. But for Mitch, it's something that we've actually, he threw it at me really early in the year in the offseason as well. But we've been working on it for weeks, and he's done a great job. Just the biggest thing is being consistent with your cadence. You go back to his college clips, and he's done a good job of protecting the ball and making sure his pad level's right. And finding the crease, right? You don't want to run, right into perhaps their best plugger up front. You got a guy like Vita Vea, right? And you want to make sure that you understand, okay, where is he stunting? What gap is he fitting? You want to make sure you find the little crease so you can keep your pad level down and get the yard we need. But Mitch did a great job of that over the last handful of weeks, just making sure that, invoking confidence in Dave to call it. And then for the O-line, just being consistent with your cadence. He did a really good job with owning that piece of it too.
I called it a tush push, but is it a more traditional sneak? What would you call it?
Yeah, we didn't push the tush, but Mitch did a good enough job of driving his legs and keeping his pad level down. Maybe something we can grow to add more bodies in the box. I don't know that we're going to become the Philadelphia Eagles anytime soon, but at the same time, anytime you have a weapon like that can take a snap under center for us, and Mitch, we feel comfortable with him doing that stuff.